Alright, so this video is on ellipses. We are going to go ahead and review ellipses. So with ellipses we have, again, two standard forms of our equation, x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. Or we switch a and b and we have b squared plus a squared. It's important to remember that a always goes with the major axis. And so if your x is the major axis, then a is going to go under the x. If y is your major axis, then a is going to go under the y. So if we take a look at these equations, we know that the basic form is x squared over 64 plus y squared over 81. We're going to look for the bigger number. And in this case, our bigger number is 81. Since our bigger number is 81, I know that a squared is going to equal 81 because that's my bigger number. Therefore, if I take the square root of both sides, a is 9. And if a is 9, that means the other one is b. So b is the square root of 64, which is 8. So I have a is 9 and b is 8. Therefore, my vertices are going to be associated with a. And again, my vertices, a is 9, and in this case, a is associated with y because of the bigger number. So therefore, I know my y value is going to be the 9. So my vertices are at 0, comma, plus or minus 9. Okay, so 9 to the 9 up and 9 down are going to be my two major vertices. Okay, then my co-vertices are going to be the b values. So my co-vertices are going to be plus or minus 8, comma 0, because b is equal to 8. Then my focus points I'm going to find by plugging into the relationship of a squared minus b squared is equal to c squared. So therefore I plug those values of a and b right in there. So c squared equals a squared, which I already found was 81, minus b squared, which is 64. Now 81 minus 64 is 17. So therefore c squared equals 17, and take the square root of both sides. So c is equal to the square root of 17. So therefore my focus points are going to be along the major axis, and again, just like the vertices, are going to have a point 0, comma, plus or minus root 17. Okay. Number 2, you want to look for the same thing. So which of these is a bigger number, 36 or 9? Since 36 is the bigger number, you know that a squared is equal to 36. Therefore, a is equal to 6. And b is equal to the other one. So what's the square root of 9? It's 3. So if a is 6 and b is 3, in order to find my vertices, since my a value is associated with x, my vertices x value is going to be that a. So I'm going to have a vertice of 6, comma 0. And that's going to be the positive or negative form of 6. My co-vertices are going to be the other one. It's going to be 0, comma, plus or minus the b value of 3. And then again, to find my focus point, I'm going to plug it into the c squared equals. I'm going to go ahead and do that right here because I'm running out of room. So c squared equals a squared, which is 36, minus b squared, which is 9. So c squared equals 27. And therefore c is equal to the square root of 27. Since there's no perfect squares of 27, I'm just going to go ahead and say that my focus points, just like my vertices were here, are plus or minus the square root of 27, comma 0. Okay, so my vertices are plus or minus 6, comma 0. My co-vertices are 0, comma, plus or minus 3. And my focus point is at plus or minus root 27, comma 0. For number 3, the first thing I have to do is get the equals to 1. So I'm going to divide everything by 36. And I'm going to be left with the form of the equation x squared over, simplify 4 over 36. When I simplify 4 over 36, I'm left with 9. So x squared over 9. 36 divided by 36 is 1, so that's just y squared over 1 equals 1. So therefore I look for the bigger number. The bigger number is 9. So therefore a is equal to the square root of 9, which is 3. And b is equal to the square root of the other denominator, which is 1. So since a is 3 and b is 1, I can now find my vertices, which my vertices are going to be associated with the variable of x because that's my bigger number. So I'm going to put a 3 in the x spot, so plus or minus 3, comma 0. My co-vertices are going to be the other point and switch, so 0 and comma plus or minus 1. My focus I'm going to plug into c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So that means c squared equals 8, which c means that it is the square root of 8. So since c is the square root of 8, I know that my focus points are also going to be along that major axis, so they are going to be plus or minus root 8, comma 0. Okay, number 4. Because we know the vertex is 0, comma 7, the vertex indicates the a value, so I know that a equals 7. My covertex indicates the b value, so b is equal to 3. And that's all I actually need to write an equation. Now I'm going to look for what axis is the major axis. 0, comma 7 tells me that my major axis is going to be along the y-axis, so therefore the a is going to be with the y this time. So that means that the b is going to be with the x. So 3 squared is 9, plus y squared over 7 squared, which is 49, equals 1. So my equation is going to be x squared over 9 plus y squared over 49 equals 1. Same thing here, my vertex tells me the a value, so a equals 8. My covertex tells me the b value, so b equals 4. Now I'm going to look and see which is the major axis. Since my vertex is negative 8, 0, that tells me that that is along the x-axis, and therefore the 8 is associated with the x squared value. So that means x squared over 8 squared, which is 64, plus y squared over b squared, which is 16, equals 1. Okay? Now for the other ones, for number 6, it gives you the focus, and there's not a whole lot of room for me to do the work right underneath the problem, so I'm actually going to do the work. Oops. Over here, this is going to be for number 6. So for number 6, I know that the vertex is a again, but my focus is actually c, so c is equal to root 3. That means I'm going to have to start by plugging it into the c squared equals a squared minus b squared equation. So I'm going to say root 3 squared equals 2 squared minus b squared. Root 3 squared is 3, 2 squared is 4, minus b squared. If I solve this equation for b squared, I'm going to subtract 4, which will be negative 1 equals negative b squared. Those negatives will cancel, and b is just equal to square root of 1, which is 1. So since now b is 1, I know a is 2. I'm going to now look and see which axis is associated with the vertex. Since 0, negative 2, excuse me, is on the y-axis, I know that that's going to go with the y. So my equation is going to be x squared over b squared, which is 1, plus y squared, again my major axis here, over 4, equals 1. Number 7. Again, your covertex this time, they give you the b value as 2, and your focus point, they give you the c value of root 5. So again, I'm going to have to start with c squared equals a squared minus b squared. c is root 5, so root 5 squared equals a squared minus 2 squared, because I know the b. So 5 equals a squared minus 4. Add 4 to both sides. A squared equals 9, and the square root of both sides, a equals 3. So now I have to check. B is again my covertex. So therefore the covertex is going to be along the x-axis, which means that is going to go with the x value. So in this case, B is going to go with the x value. So x squared over 2 squared plus y squared over 3 squared, again the major axis is y, because a is 3, equals 1. So my equation is x squared over 4 plus y squared over 9 equals 1. Finally, for graphing, I first need to find a and b, which of course my a is going to be the bigger number, the square root of 16, and b is going to be 2. To find c, I'm going to plug it into this equation here. So c is going to equal the square root of 12. So that's where my focus points are going to be, which is about 3.5. So let's go ahead and plot our major axis. And again, since the bigger numbers under the y, that's the axis I'm going to put those numbers on. So I'm going to go up 4 and down 4. I'm going to go over 2 and over 2. And that's going to be where my ellipses is. My focus points are about here and here, since that is the square root of 12. Moving over here, again, a is the bigger number, so a is the square root of 121, which is 11. B is the square root of 81, which is 9. And now I'm going to plug it into c squared equals 121 minus 81, which is 40. So c squared equals 40, and c equals the square root of 40, which is about 6.3. So therefore, I'm going to plot 11. I'm going to count by 2s since this only goes up to 7 up and down. So again, x is the bigger number, so that's going to be my major axis. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 is going to be here, and negative 11 here. And then 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 is here. So again, that is going to be my ellipse, and my focus points go along the major axis, which is the x, and therefore I'm going to plot about 6, 2, 4, 6 here, and 2, 4, 6 here. Okay, this concludes your review on ellipses. Look for the next video for hyperbolas.